I have been slowly working through on my own an inductive Akkadian grammar of Gilgamesh epic. We have put up an inductive Akkadian grammar on the epilogue of Hammurabi, and also working somewhat on the prologue. But what I thought I would do is try to put up a little bit of the Gilgamesh epic. We also have some up on the descent of Ishtar in the underworld, looking at the Akkadian grammar inductively. These are famous ancient Near Eastern texts that I believe throw light on the Hebrew scriptures. As I've said in previous videos, I'm a retired seminary professor of of Old Testament, and I had Akkadian years ago in my PhD work, and now in retirement, I'm just sort of chipping away, trying to bring back what I had learned to try to keep at it a bit. I don't claim to be an Akkadiologist, as I've said, but I hope this helps somebody, or at least I'm enjoying it, just trying to work my way through. So we pick it up. I'm going to review a little bit from line 9, and this is found, by the way, in the Ancient Near Eastern text, an anthology of text and pictures, edited by James B. Pritchard, Volume 1. It's the short Annette, and Spicer did the work. A wonderful, wonderful job of translating this massive amount of work. And so I would like to just read a note that he has. Well, I basically have introduced that, I'm sorry, in a previous video. So I'd like to pick up where Utnapishtim speaks to Gilgamesh. And this is in line 9. Borger, I have used Borger for the transcription, and then I do my own transliteration. I'm sure there's transliteration available out on the internet. And there may be inductive Hebrew or inductive Akkadian grammars. I don't know. But I'm just sort of studying through this and sharing just my studies as I'm doing it. And if someone wants to follow along, and that would be great, feel free to correct me in anything. I am just learning to improve in this grammar myself. So we're on line 8, and when you read the translation by Spicer, he translates it. Utnapishtim said to him, to Gilgamesh, I will reveal to thee, Gilgamesh, a hidden manner, and a secret of the gods I will tell thee. And I have done the Akkadian grammar on that. Utnapishtim anashashum, that is, Utnapishtim to him, that is, to Gilgamesh, is Akara, he speaks. Here we have, as we've said previously, a GT, third masculine singular, a GT form. So he speaks to Gilgamesh. And notice he says, Lupteka Gilgamesh, that is, let me speak, O Gilgamesh, the word of secret. Amat Nitserti. Notice here, let me open up to you or speak to you. Here we have a G precative, third masculine singular plus the pronominal suffix second masculine singular in the root patum. And notice amat nitzirti, the word of hidden, of a hidden like secret. And we've already commented on the noun in construct from amutu, and nitzerti is the genitive singular of hidden or of a secret hidden, or of a hidden secret. And then u perishta ilanu kashu lukbika, that is, and the decision of the gods to you, let me speak. Let me speak the decision of the gods. Perishta, as we said, is an accusative singular with the a ending, and then the genitive ilanu from ilu, and kashu would be a to you. Luke bika is from the root kabu, let me speak. A G, again, precative from kabu. So let me speak. And then we pick it up in what I'm doing in the grammar a little bit later. Let me just read down to where Ia is speaking words to the reed hut. But in between, I'm following the translation in English by Spicer. It reads, I will reveal to you, O Gilgamesh, a hidden manner, and a secret of the gods will I tell thee. Shuripak, a city which you know, and which on the Euphrates bank is situated, the city was ancient, the gods within it. When their heart led the great gods to produce the flood, there were Anu their father, valiant Enlil their counselor, Ninurta their assistant, Enuga their irrigator, Ninigikuia, who was present with them, and then their words he repeats to the reed hut. And I pick up my grammar analysis there. This is then on line 20. Again, I'm following the lines of the Annette. Berger may have, I think he has different, the way he has identified the lines. But at any rate, Amat Shunu Ushana, their words, he repeats. Notice as we look at the Amat Shuno, this is from Amatu again. Shuno would be the pronominal suffix, third masculine singular, or third masculine plural. So their words, he repeats. Here's a D stem, Ushana, he repeats. A D precative, third masculine singular. So he repeated or repeats their words. And then Anna, he's going to address the reed hut. So it reads, Anna Kikishu, he repeats these words to the reed hut. And notice it reads, reed hut, reed hut. I would render Anakakishu to his reed hut. That is, the shu here being the pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. So to his reed hut, and then he repeats it. That is to Utnapishtims, reed hut. Kikish, kikish, reed hut, reed hut. Here we have vocative of address. Igar, igar, wall, wall. Kikishu, his reed hut, here, or reed hut, here. Shememma is from the verb shamu, and I'm thinking in Hebrew of shema, so here, and wall, igaru, hiishas, hearken, or wall, reflect. So hear and reflect. And then as we continue, it reads, man of Shurapak, son of Ubar Tutu. And then he's going to tell him to tear down the house and build a ship. And so as we move on in that, notice, by the way, just to go back for a moment, Shememma is an imperative, meaning to hear. And then we move on, son or man of Shurapag, Lu meaning man here, man of Shurapag, son of Ubar Ratuku, Mar Ubar Tutu. We've talked about that in a previous video. Dumu is the Sumerian for son, and the Akkadian is Mar, from Marum, son. So tear down, Ukur, from Nakaru, an imperative, tear down, a G imperative in my understanding. Bitu, tear down the house, and Bini Aleppu, that is, build a ship. Notice the G imperative here in Bini from Banu. So build a ship. Mushir Meshri, release riches. Here we have an imperative, a D imperative from the root masharu, to release. So release Meshri, or Meshru, release riches. She'um napishtu, and seek life. Again, this is another imperative, a G imperative from She'um, and napishtu means life. So seek life. And so let me pick up where I'm at now in my analysis. We then are continuing aboard the ship, where he's going to tell him to get on the ship. Let me just find where I'm at here. Okay. He tells him, notice in the next line, after speaking to him, aboard the ship and take, and I'm following the translation of Spicer, aboard the ship, take thou the seed of all living things, the ship that thou shalt build, her dimensions shall be to measure. And in my reading of this, I have Shulima Zer Napshati, which would be aboard the ship, and then take. Notice now we pick up the seed of every living thing. Zer Napshati. Zer is in construct with Napshati, of life, or of living things, of every living things. Here we have a genitive plural. So take the seed of living things. Kalama, all, that is, take the seed of all living things. And then he continues, Ana libi Aleppo, to the heart of the ship. That is literally. And I thought about kol in Hebrew. I thought about nephesh here. And I also thought about lev for heart, different words that are used. So all to the heart of the ship. And then notice he says, Aleppo Shah Tabanushi. And the ship, which here we have, the ship is the nominative singular, and then we have Shah, the relative pronoun, followed by Tabanushi, which you shall build. And the root here is banum, to build. And I'm rendering this as a G present, which you shall build it, followed by the pronominal suffix feminine singular. So the ship which you shall build it, ata. In other words, which you shall build it. And notice ata here is interestingly related when I think of the Hebrew, cognate wise, ata is you, masculine singular. So the ship which you shall build, and banu is basically found in Hebrew as well, to build. For example, in Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 2, God built the rib of man into a woman. And I believe he uses the same root in Hebrew, which you shall build. And then he goes on, her dimensions shall be to measure. Lu manduda midatusha. The dimension of her measure is the way I'm rendering this, or the dimensions of her measure, midatusha. Again, midatu would be measure, sha is the pronominal suffix, third feminine singular. And then he goes on, equal shall be her width and her length. Lu mithur rapusha, u and her length. That is, equal mithur shall be her breadth, rupusha, again the pronominal suffix, breadth, shall be her breadth and length. And then he goes on to talk about bringing things onto the ship. And notice as he continues, that I'm reading, I was trying to follow here Spicer, but I'm going a little bit ahead where he's describing, and I have it as line 20. Well, I have it as line 22. That's because I'm possibly following Burger. But again, it reads, Mima ishu et sen shef. That is, whatever Mima I had, and I'm understanding issue to the verb to have as a G preterite, third mass or first common singular. So whatever I had, I loaded it in sen shef, or in shen shi, excuse me. I loaded it from Senu to load. So whatever I had, I loaded it. Again, at Sin Shi, I'm understanding as a G uh, stem, a G preterite, third first common singular with the pronominal suffix third feminine singular. So whatever I had, I loaded it. Mima issue itsinshi kospi. Again, whatever I have had, I loaded it with silver. So he's going to take money on, which is sort of interesting. Mima issue at sin shi, I loaded it again, the same form, which I'm rendering here as a G preterite, first common singular, from senu to load, and she is the pronominal suffix third feminine singular. So whatever I had, I loaded it with silver, kospi, or of silver. Here we have a genitive singular, and I think of kesef in Hebrew, of silver. So whatever I had, I loaded it with silver, and then mima ishu et sin she horasi. Whatever I had again, I loaded it of gold from horatsi. And then in the next line, and I'm seeing that as line 25, Mima ishuya etsenshi ser napshati kalama. That is, whatever I had, I loaded it, or I loaded it with the seed of all living. Ser napshati kalama. Again, same form in ishuya would be the verb to have, issue, first G preterite, first common singular with the pronominal suffix in the ya, first common singular pronominal suffix. So whatever there was to me, whatever I had with reference to me, I loaded it. Itsin she, zer napshati. There we have the seed of all living. Zer napshati kalama. And again, notice napshu means life, or something living, a living thing. And I think of the Hebrew nephesh for life. So the seed of all living things, ush teli ana alipi kala kimtiya u salatya. I brought up to the ship all my family and clan. Notice ushteli, I'm understanding this from elu, to bring up, as a sheen t preterite, third masculine singular from elu. So whatever I had, I caused to be brought up to the ship. Ana lippi, ana takes the genitive again, a lippi from a lippu. All kala, that is, all that I had, I brought up to the ship. My family, kim ti ya, notice kim ti, all of my family. I'm understanding as a genitive singular from kimtum, meaning family, and ya is the pronominal suffix, first person singular. So all of my family, the conjunction and, salatya, and my clan. And then he continues to describe what he further brought up in the next line, Bul Seri, livestock of the field. Bul is from Bulam, meaning livestock, and Serum is the word for field, and Seri is the genitive singular. So livestock, notice Bul is in construct with Seri, and we have a lot of these nouns in construct similar to Hebrew. So livestock of the field, uman, seri, the beast of the field. And notice umamu is the noun meaning a beast. And again, this is an accusative in the ending, singular. The beast of the field. And I guess I'm seeing it sort of as a collective singular. The beast of the field, and seri is your genitive singular again from serum. And then mari, umani, umani. And that would be the craftsman, or I guess you could say, the guild of the craftsmen. Umani is genitive singular, and all of them, kalishunu, this is from kalu, like I think of the Hebrew kol, all of them, shunu would be your pronominal suffix, third masculine plural. I caused to go up into the ship, I'm understanding it. Usheli. Usheli is from elum, to go up. And here we have a sheen, preterite, third masculine singular from elum, to go up. So I was working on this last night and I stopped there. I think I'm just going to work on it as I have time and just enjoy going through it. But I was thinking of the parallel, and this is helpful in my reading of Spizer's work in ancient Near Eastern texts, where he puts the reference to Genesis 6, in this particular time frame as he's going through this. This would be Genesis 6, verses 14 and following. Let me just read that a second here. After describing what God said to Noah, how he's talked about how he's going to destroy everything, and he asked him to make an ark, and this is how you shall make it. You have the breadth and the height. This is in verse 15. And after describing it, he then goes on. I talk about bringing a flood to destroy all flesh. Va'ani hini mevi et hamabul mayim al ha'aretz leshachet kol basar asher bo ruach hayim. I'm going to destroy all flesh wherein is the breath of life from under heaven. Everything that is in the earth shall perish. And then he talks about how he brings, you shall come into, notice my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your wives, your sons and your wife, and your son's sons with you, which is sort of interesting. V'hakimoti et beriti itak, I will establish my covenant with you. Uvata el hateva, you shall come into the ark. Ata uvenecha ve'ishtecha uneshe vanecha itak. That is, you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, your wife, and the sons, your sons' wives with you. And then of every living thing you shall bring in. Umikol hachayim, mikol basar, 2 by 2, and the fowl and every creeping thing on the ground, and you shall bring it unto you, all food that is to be eaten. So Noah did as he was told. And I thought about, as I was reading the text, how we have a very similar parallel with some difference. That is, when you look at the Akkadian text that I just have been working through, notice that he brings into the ship, after measuring it, he brings the money into the ship, the silver and the gold, and then he brings his family and his clan, which would be a parallel to Genesis, up into the ship. Then the livestock and the beasts of the field, but the craftsmen, that's interesting. The craftsmen, we don't have that in Genesis. So I think that is different in the Gilgamesh account. But it's interesting. What I'm trying to do is go back and forth a little bit to look at some of the, I guess you would say, parallels that are similar statements. Now, it is interesting that as you think about what's going on, there is quite a parallel. I don't find where Noah brought silver or gold on. And by the way, I had given the text that I was using, the line, when I talk about whatever I had of silver, whatever I had of gold, I brought on my family and kin and the craftsmen and so forth. That is on page 80 in a net, and it's on line 80 through basically looks like about 86 or 85. Again, my line might be a little bit different as I'm trying to follow Borger's outline and how he has listed it. But let me stop there. I'm just taking my time working through some of these Akkadian texts. And like I said, I have worked through years ago, and then continued to work through the epilogue of Hammurabi. And then also, I've done a little work in Enuma Elish and some in the descent of Ishtar into the underworld. And I'm just sort of plodding along, working through some of this to review the grammar and to teach myself a little bit more, because it's been a number of years since I had Akkadian, and in my seminary there wasn't much demand for anyone wanting to study Akkadian. It was mainly Hebrew grammar, and a number of my Hebrew grammars have been put out on YouTube and also with Logos. But at any rate, I want to stop there, and I hope someone might enjoy this. I am enjoying it and trying to continue to improve. Thank you.